Hello and welcome back to Substream News. Returning viewers, thank you for coming back. New viewers, before we begin, hit that like and subscribe. If you're not yet convinced, I'm hoping that this helpful video will convince you. So first of all, I'm going to begin with some educational content, and it relates to AI. Now, some of you might not be familiar with AI image generation tools, but I work with them, and they can do some pretty incredible things, but they also leave clues that they are AI generated. I'm going to explain some of those clues to you so that you don't fall victim to AI generated content and it allow you to manipulate your beliefs and ideas, especially in an election year, because people will be using AI generated images to create disinformation, misinformation, and basically trick you into thinking things that aren't true. So here's what to look out for in AI generated images, or images that you think might be AI. Number one, look at the hands, especially the fingers. Now, AI image generation tools, they have a bit of trouble generating fingers that to look realistic. They end up being all mixed up and all over the place. Too many, too few, jutting out of the wrong place. So look for that. Also, the legs, sometimes they aren't aligned. One might be really long, one might be really short, one might be missing. Just look at the limbs. That's a good place to start. Now, next you want to look at the details. And to do this best, zoom right into the picture. You might just notice that something isn't right. Things blend into the background where they shouldn't. Details don't add up. They don't connect where they should. Things aren't seamless. And when you zoom in, you start to notice these things. And now AI does do a really good job, but it's not perfect. So often image editors take the AI generated image and improve them and fix the mistakes, but they don't get all of them all the time. So it leaves a little breadcrumb for you. Number three, it's all about the skin. Now, some of you might have wonderful skincare routines, but it will never be as perfect as an AI generated model's skin. So if you're not quite sure and you're looking at what looks almost like a photograph of someone, but not quite, it could be an AI image. So what I recommend, let's say it's on Instagram, go through the profile. If it's consistently too perfect skin in all the images and you don't know that person in real life, it could be an AI model. There are so many people using these for various purposes, good and bad. Number four. Now look around the image. Is there any text, any writing? Because AI is not great at generating writing, especially not the early versions. It ends up being complete gibberish, just ruptured words really. I find that it looks a bit like a mix between the Latin alphabet and the Greek alphabet, mashing them together, completely nonsensical. If you see something like that, it's AI. And number five. Now, this is a pretty easy giveaway. The context makes no sense. Maybe it's a polar bear walking through Tokyo. Maybe there's a Ferrari on the moon. You can kind of guess for yourself if this image is realistic or not, I suppose. Judge for yourself. Just put a critical lens on any image you might see, because AI is doing powerful things. Now, let's move on to our first news story. Now, there's a good reason that I wanted to educate you a little bit about the dangers of AI tools and the misinformation they can create, especially if you are watching this from the US, because this year there has been one of the biggest personal data hacks of all time, if not the biggest. And I don't know how this is not front page news all over the world, but 2.9 billion sets of customer human data have been stolen, including social security numbers. That is big news. Yes, so it's a hacking group called USDOD, and they hacked a company called National Public Data, and this is like a company that does reference checks, right, and credit checks. They hold loads of data and they didn't hold it carefully enough. And now these hackers, USDOD, are trying to sell the entire data set for $3.5 million on the dark web. Now, there are reports that some people have bought it, copied it, and shared it. So you can get it for free. Not that I'm encouraging you to, actually, quite the opposite. There are people just giving it away now. And the reason they're doing that is because they don't want the hackers to win anymore. So the stolen file is 277 gigabytes in size, and it contains names, addresses, address histories, relatives, social security numbers, dating back around 3 decades. Okay guys, and now I'm going to help you if you think you might have been part of that breach, or even if you weren't, this is just good security practice for yourself. Number 1, go and change your most important passwords. Make sure there's no malware on your computer. So actually, first, make sure there's no malware on your computer, then update your passwords. Something really strong. Now, a lot of them will tell you how strong a suggested password is, but you should go and update them. Go and add two-factor or multi-factor authentication where you can. Google Authenticator is a great app that will help you do this. Some websites, often in the financial sector, will make you do this, but not enough do. So I really recommend finding a way to have multiple authentication. That's things like OTP, one-time passcodes, sent to you or sent to the app, sent to you via SMS or via a code, which refreshes every 10 or 15 seconds. These are golden and will protect you so much. Number 3, you might be a victim already and not even know it, because some people don't go and check their transaction histories. So request a credit report from your credit card provider or banks and get some statements and just go through it and make sure that you haven't already been stolen from. You might not have noticed. They might have done a small transaction as a test and they're waiting for an opportune moment to take a big amount. And 4, just please be extra cautious about phishing, and that's phishing with a PH. Basically, the way that scammers will try and trick you with real appearing scams. You know, could be like a delivery's here for you. You need to put in your details to claim it, right? Things like that. They are very good. Now, just remember that you may have been part of a gigantic breach. So they have data about you that they shouldn't. They know things that they shouldn't. They will use that to manipulate you to get more information that they can then use to take more from you. It's a deleterious cycle. It's not good. Right, let's move on. Now, if you're anything like me, when you sign up for a new service or app or something like that, those long and tedious terms and conditions are a total bore to read. I just scroll right past them, click accept and move on, and never think back to the consequences of that. Now, one guy in the US is finding out the hard way. He signed up for a Disney Plus streaming trial on his PlayStation in 2019. That's story A. Now, a couple of years later, he took his wife to a Disney World restaurant where they told the waiters very clearly about her allergies. They basically ignored it, didn't cook the meal respecting her allergies, and she died in the restaurant of an allergic reaction, right? He went to claim compensation. He wanted to take Disney to court, sue them for compensation for the loss of his wife, which is so traumatic. Now, Disney said, oh no, you signed up for Disney Plus in 2019, which means you can't take us to court. You signed away that right. Now, that clause was there in the long terms and conditions when he made that account. This is horrendous post or late capitalism behavior. Now, here's another mad thing. Now, this guy's called Jeffrey Piccolo. He's the plaintiff, right? And his wife, Kanokpon, she sadly is dead. And he wanted to claim $50,000 in compensation, which in the grand scheme of things, it's not very much, especially in the US. You could sue for millions. But Disney said, no, we don't want to pay it. We want to try and get out of it. Now, Jeff did the right thing. He basically told the press, or it made the press. It made news and it blew up and it was on media sites around the world. Disney faced great shame, right? Everyone shaming them, as they rightly should, because what an awful thing to do. So Disney have now backtracked. They will have their day in court. They will let Jeff soothe them and do what he can, as he deserves to. It makes me wonder, what else is there lurking in all of the terms and conditions that we've already accepted? Now, if all of this technology and treachery and just downright mischief is getting you frustrated, imagine how hard it must be being a preschooler. That's because scientists and researchers have now found out there is a direct correlation, obviously, between misbehaving children and tablet use. Yes, those tantrum-throwing toddlers are tablet users. Yes, shock horror. It turns out that giving your kid a tablet is not effective parenting. Who'd have thought it? Well, I'm going to tell you the facts here. Researchers from the Université de Sherbrooke in Canada found the average amount of time young children spend on their mobile devices has increased from 5 minutes a day in 2020 to 55 minutes a day in 2022, with many 4-year-olds having their own device. They found that the more time they spent on their devices, the more tantrums they threw, the more likely they were to throw a tantrum. Also, they found that it negatively affected their physical health, their social skills, and their academic performance. That last one's very important because a lot of parents give their kids tablets because they think they are learning devices. They can be if you use them that way, but not if they're just watching Minecraft and Roblox videos on YouTube. That's not education. So it turns out tablets are not great babysitters. What a shock. Are you still going to go and give your kid a tablet? Because if you don't, they might throw a tantrum and then you have a bigger problem on your hands. It's a vicious cycle. So just remember that. Those of you who don't have kids yet or have kids on the way, tablets might not be such a good thing. Think about it. Let's move on to the next story. Well, perhaps it's not only preschoolers who need a digital detox. Maybe it's you and I. I certainly see my screen time statistics and worry sometimes what damage I'm doing to myself. There's a trend it's a kind of digital detox trend called Rawdogging. I know that also means unprotected sex, but in this case, Rawdogging is a new social media trend where people take flights and refuse any kind of stimulation or entertainment. So no phone, no music, no book, nothing. They just sit upright, staring ahead of them for the entire flight. Now, they are allowed one concession, which is if the screen has the little flight simulator, like the plane going across the map, they're allowed to watch that because they maybe can't turn it off. But some people just sit there staring into the void for hours and hours and hours. Now, bizarrely, if that sounds of interest to you, you don't even need to get on a flight to do it. Of course, you could go and face the wall for hours. But there's actually a new online game called Rawdog Airlines. And it says, "Welcome to Rawdog Airlines. Please enjoy your flight." Welcome to Rawdog Airlines. Please sit back and enjoy your flight. Sorry, I got that wrong before. Okay, now I played it. And it is unbelievably stupid, as you can imagine. But actually, the website's pretty cool. It's a nice design. It looks a bit like an airline website. You have to purchase a flight. And you don't actually have to spend any money. It's all free. But yeah, you sign up. You put in your name. You pick a seat. There's only one available. And then this cool kind of video intro pops up with the pilot's announcement. And he talks while you're guided to your seat, and you sit down, and then you're facing like the headrest screen in front of you, and at this point it will ask you to turn on your camera from your device, which has an eye tracker, and the camera from your laptop or phone will watch your eye movement and make sure that you are watching the screen for as long as possible, and if you look away, it will know and the game over. So here's what blew my mind. People are actually playing this, which is insane. And the top score, which I presume is from the longest flight possible, because there are different flight options, the longest flight possible, 18 hours and 40 minutes. There are 5 people who've completed that. Now, whether they've actually done that or they've found a way to rig the game, I don't know. But why on earth would you stare at your computer screen for 18 hours and 40 minutes? For fun? For mental stimulation? A lack of? I really don't understand, but congrats to those 5 people. So a little warning, playing Rawdog Airlines is incredibly dumb. If you would rather do something interesting, educational, intellectual, informative, scroll down and click subscribe to Substream News. Yeah, you knew that was coming. Okay, let's move on to our final story. And we'll finish on a lighter note. Okay, well, some people are playing Rawdog Airlines or actually on flights, rawdogging those flights. You might want to chill out at the airport in a different way. And you can do that if you go to Portland's newly renovated PDX airport, where they have therapy llamas and therapy alpacas. Now, these 2 fluffy, load-bearing South American animals are amazing. I've seen them in the flesh many times. They are epic, and it makes me happy just to see them. So I think what a wonderful innovation to have therapy animals at the airport. Yeah, I fly a lot. I fly all the time, and I love flying, but I definitely think the experience would be improved by having llamas and alpacas to hang out with. If you agree, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, thank you for hanging out with me for the past 10 or so minutes. It's been a blast. I hope this helped you, especially my tips on identifying AI images and also on how to protect yourself if you think you might have been part of a major security breach. Apart from that, I'm Joseph. This is Substream News. I appreciate you going down and clicking subscribe and helping us grow this channel and allowing big things to happen. Thank you and see you next time. Bye for now.